50 short stories. Medieval England. In the shadow of castles and cathedrals, the smallest hearts shine brightest. The Abbots Jug. Morning light crept through the narrow windows of St. Dunstan's Abbey, painting pale lines across the stone floor. The brothers were gathering for breakfast, bowls of thin pottage and bread that could blunt a knife. The only sound was the rustle of robes and the occasional discreet cough. Silence was the rule at St. Dunstan's and had been for as long as anyone could remember. Even the birds seemed to know it, for they sang softly outside the cloister walls, as though afraid to disturb the peace. Brother Oswin, the youngest in the house, often found that silence the hardest penance. His mind was bright and restless, his tongue forever itching to speak. So it was something of a personal tragedy when, during the preparation for the feast of St. Cuthbert, he made the worst mistake of his short monastic life. It began with a jug. The abbey possessed among its few treasures a small earthen jug said to have belonged to St. Cuthbert himself. It was kept locked in the sacristy and shown only once a year during the feast procession. The abbot himself would lift it high, the brothers would bow, and the pilgrims would murmur reverently before the relic was returned to its chest. This year, Brother Oswin had been trusted with cleaning the sacristy and preparing the display. It was, the abbot said, a chance to show diligence and humility. Alas, Brother Oswin showed rather too much enthusiasm and not quite enough care. After scrubbing the floor and dusting the shelves, he had placed the jug upon the window sill to catch the light. Then, feeling rather pleased with himself, he went to fetch the candles. When he returned, the jug was gone. Gone, as though the saint himself had taken it for a walk. Panic struck him like a blow. He searched under the table, behind the altar, even in the cupboard with the spare sandals. Nothing, only his own echo and the soft fluttering of panic in his chest. By vespers, his face was as pale as the candles he was supposed to light. He dared not confess the loss. Instead, he prayed fervently that perhaps, by some miracle, it might return of its own accord. The next morning, it did, though not quite in the way he expected. At breakfast, Brother Matthew, who oversaw the kitchen, entered the refectory looking uncommonly cheerful. "The Lord be praised," he said loudly, for monks could speak in the kitchen. "The barley beer was never finer. A blessing indeed, though strange, it tastes a touch of clay." Brother Oswin's spoon froze midway to his mouth. A dreadful suspicion seized him. He fled to the kitchen. There, on the table beside the steaming pots, sat the holy jug of St. Cuthbert, half full of beer, its rim glistening with frost. Brother Matthew looked up from his ladle, puzzled. "Ah, you found the brewer's jug. A lovely shape. Where did it come from, I wonder?" Before Oswin could answer, the abbot himself appeared in the doorway. His calm eyes swept the room, then settled on the jug. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the abbot walked forward, lifted the relic gently, and examined the brown ring of foam near its lip. The silence that followed was thicker than the pottage. At last, the abbot sighed, and, to the astonishment of all, began to laugh. A soft, low at first, then a ripple that spread like spring rain through the room. The monks stared, uncertain whether laughter was permitted. But when the abbot wiped his eyes and said, "Perhaps even saints enjoy a good brew now and then," they could not help but join him. The day the brothers of St. Dunstan's discovered that silence, though holy, was not the only to grace. The jug was rinsed, blessed anew, and placed safely back in its chest. Brother Osmond confessed his error, expecting harsh penance. Instead, the abbot handed him a broom and said with a smile, "Clean the kitchen. The saint's jug deserves better company next year." From that day forward, the brothers spoke a little more freely during their work, and laughter, once so rare, began to echo softly down the cloisters like music long forgotten. And once a year, after the feast of St. Cuthbert, when the candles burned low and the pilgrims had gone, a small jug of beer was quietly left on the altar. No one ever claimed to know who placed it there, but somehow, by morning, it was always empty. Even within the walls of stone, where silence reigns and rolls endure, laughter remains the holiest sound of all, for joy, too, is a form of prayer. Thank you.